You're welcome to the Economy and Politics show, where we discuss key political economic developments as it affects the households. We're in the third week of May, and it's the election season in Nigeria. Just to remind viewers that all the 18 political parties in the country will be conducting their primaries for the 2023 general elections. So this will be a busy month in terms of political activities, while the economy and markets will be watching the events as they unfold. This edition will be looking at the 2023 elections, business and economic implications. Before we begin, let us give you a recap of the key political economic stories from last week. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, in a meeting with the chairman of the 18 political parties in Nigeria, reiterated the fact that the electoral body will stick to its timetable for the 2023 general elections. This was in response to an appeal for an extension of the dates for primaries into the month of June 2022 by the various political parties. President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, directed all ministers and political office holders last week with political ambitions ahead of the 2022 general elections to tender their resignation letters on or before Monday, which is today, May 16, 2022. Also, the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, in a statement, warned that the country could experience an unprecedented fuel supply crisis. This is due to the 500 billion naira bridging fund owed them by the federal government. Now let us get on to our conversation today, which is the 2023 elections, business and economic implications. And let's first highlight how politics impacts businesses and the economy, because when we discuss politics, people ask, how does it add up and how does it impact business and of course economic activities? First, policies, and you can tie that to manifestos. Now, this stems from the ideologies and economic philosophy of the political parties. If you look at developed democracies like the United States of America, United Kingdom, France, Japan, Germany, amongst others, their policies, their ideologies shape everything that has to do with the economic system. So whichever political party comes into power drives its policies based on its manifesto and agenda. So that's why politics, in one way, affects the economy and business activities. The second is a smooth process. Now, this is very important because as you see across the world, where there's a challenging political process, it affects everything. And this means stable and peaceful primaries till the elections guarantees stability and an enabling environment for businesses and economic activities. So the more an electoral process is smooth and free of rancor and violence, the better for the economy and of course generality of citizens in the state and country. Now, there's also the aspect of the sectoral focus. Now, sectors of the economy and businesses are also impacted by the policies and programs of political parties. So a victory for a political party could mean a dislocation for business segments and an uplifting for others. So for example, if you look at the United States of America, in the last elections, we've seen that the major oil and gas industries faced a disruption with the Biden administration and Democratic Party putting more into renewable energy, where those that are invested in that segment have seen uplifting. So policies, again, strategies of political parties and their programs have impact on businesses. Dislocations for some, uplifting for others. Now, investment, this is very important because a stable political process and the type of leadership that emerges shapes the kind of investment that comes into a country, domestic and foreign. Now, some people say, wow, there are countries like China that get so much investments coming in, despite the fact that it's not fully as expected democratic. Again, the strategy, the policies of that government and how it intertwines its socialist state policies and some level of capitalism comes into play. So investments comes into economies, and whether it's foreign direct investment, foreign portfolio investment, and even remittances and various other forms of investments, they watch the whole political process. They watch the party that is leading and is ruling in that state or country, and then take their decisions. And this dovetails to the capital market activities, which is another aspect that is impacted by politics. The outcome of major party primaries and elections has a way of either boosting or dampening activities in the market. This is manifest in the stock exchanges, the response to the emergence of a candidate and eventual winner of an election. And most of the key examples are in the US, in the UK, and even Nigeria. If you look at previous elections, the capital market, whether it's the New York Stock Exchange, Nigeria Stock Exchange, various exchanges respond to victories or even defeats of candidates. Now, another major part of how politics shapes business and economy is foreign policy. Foreign policy positions are also influenced by political parties that have won elections and have control of the governance structure. Again, developed democracies have shown this over time. Emergence of a government means either a broken relationship with a particular country or a renewal of relationships. And this plays on time. I mean, in the US, you see the Republican Party, Democratic Party. If a Democrat comes in, the strength relationship with particular countries and blocks. And if the Republican comes in, also that plays out. And of course, it's something that we'll be watching closely in Nigeria because that is an area that needs to be refined, our foreign policy. Now, I mean, this is the month of the primaries, presidential primaries particularly, and of course, several other primaries for the position of governor, House of Assembly, National Assembly members, that's House of Reps and the Senate. But let's take you to numbers. I mean, just to give you some insight into the numbers as it plays out. Now, for the numbers, 9, that's number 9, is the number of governors that are vying for the office of the president. Yes, 9 state governors are in the race for the presidency across all the parties. Major parties are the All Progressive Congress and the People's Democratic Party. So 9 governors are vying for that position. Let's see how it goes as the primaries are building up. 4 is the number of past and present Senate presidents that are in the race for the presidency. Isn't that surprising? I mean, you look at it, Senate president is number 3 in the order of leadership in the country's democratic system, and we're seeing 4 already. The eyes on the presidency. 6 is the number of ministers that are under the current administration who have signified interest in the 2023 presidency. And as we read in the news, they've been told to resign. So those 6 plus additional ministers that have ambitions for the political space. 5 is the number of former state governors who have indicated interest for the position of president. Yes, it's not just the current governors, but former governors are also in the race too. I mean, they want to be presidents. And for those of you that did not know, 18 is the number of political parties that have been registered for the 2020 general elections. Yes, 18. We have 18 political parties. I don't know if all of them will present presidential aspirants, but we have 18 that are going to present various candidates for election. So it's a very busy season and we'll keep you posted. This is the period. You have to just keep gluing onto Web TV to give you those big insights into what's happening. And also follow our social media platforms because we'll be giving you updates as they come. Now, what are the talking points build up to 2023 general elections? Because, you know, elections come, but there have to be issues that will become the talking points. And the first is zoning. This is a major, major talking point ahead of the 2023 elections. Now, just last week, the People's Democratic Party concluded its National Executive Council meeting. And they struck out zoning, opening the race to everyone. Go in there and fight for it. Give it all your shot and let's see how you can win the race. And that has generated a lot of conversation. And now the concern is, will the ruling party, All Progressive Congress, also follow that pattern, or will they zone it? And this has also brought a north-south divide in terms of views from the north and of course from the south and various regions. And there has been this perception, there's been this sympathy that it should go to the southeast. So several leaders have come out to say that yes, it should be the turn of the southeast. But I'm telling you that this is a very major conversation across board, zoning. So now that the People's Democratic Party has opened it to everyone, will APC take the same direction? And what does that mean for our polity as we talk about fairness and equity? The second aspect is insecurity, and this is a menace. The activities of bandits and terrorists, kidnappers, armed robbery on the highways is creating so much concern in the country. Remember that in 2015, it had to be extended by 2 to 3 weeks to deal with the activities of terrorists just to have the elections. An erudite senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Robert Clark, has said that there should be an extension of the president's tenure just to address insecurity, maybe by 6 months. already the president has responded and said, look, they are not in that game. They have committed to Nigerians to leave by 29th May 2023, and they will do that. But insecurity is a major concern. And I believe that the security operatives, the service chiefs will all work together to ensure that this is addressed, because this is a major issue that could affect the elections. The next talking point is the completion of significant infrastructure projects. I mean, from the second Niger Bridge to the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, these are significant infrastructure projects amongst others in the line. There is need for politics, not to override governance. This was part of the reasons why people reacted to ministers who are vying for political positions and are still in their office, a distraction, which of course the president has responded, telling them that they should resign. It is expected that those projects will be completed along the timeline, but will they be completed? That's the big question, because these are key infrastructure projects for the country. The next one is the strengthening of institutions. Institutions are very important for nations. Any country that has achieved greatness, development, has done that on the account of how strong its institution is. There's a popular saying by former President of the United States of America, Mr. Barack Obama, that we need strong institutions, not strong people. Now, there's been so much talk around the central bank governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, and his 2023 presidential ambitions. It's a concern because the Central Bank of Nigeria is saddled with managing our monetary policy. It's worthy of note that also the Central Bank of Nigeria warehouses sensitive election materials for elections, and that has generated a lot of discussions. Last week, Thursday, the Central Bank governor had a closed-door meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari, and when he came out, his statement was quite surprising in terms of the fact that while Nigerians are worried about his foray into politics, holding a very sensitive position, he wasn't bothered about it, and that's not a good signal. But like he said, there is no news and there will be news. We've been watching to see what news will come out from it, but it is not a good signal for a central bank governor to be in office and still vie for a political position. There's a lot of distraction there. There are also legal issues around it, but it is very important that the CBN, an institution of great repute, very critical in any country, is not damaged. Next is the aviation industry. While we're discussing the whole political season, last week, Monday, would have been a very, very serious incident in the country where the whole airspace would have been shut down. Now imagine if that happened. So following the recent meeting last week between the National Assembly, led by the House Speaker, Right Honorable Femi Gbajabamila, Airline Operators of Nigeria, and the Major Market Association of Nigeria, the agreement came out that they would subsidize for 6 million liters of aviation fuel to stabilize the market for the next 3 months, which is a temporary solution. A lot of negotiations around that. But the big question is what happens after August 2022? Because our still building up to the election period, there has to be a permanent solution to this whole challenge, because aviation and airlines are also very critical in terms of the fact that most politicians build up even this month to the various conventions, presidential primaries, for example, in Abuja, will be flying for that event. The education sector is in crisis. That's the talking point. It is in crisis and is an all-time low as the build-up to election continues. The academic staff union of universities, senior staff association of Nigerian universities, non-academic staff union of universities, and of course the academic staff union of polytechnics are all on strike at this period. This has led to students' protests across the country. If you're traveling across the country, you see that some major highways are being blocked by students who are angry, and yes, they're frustrated. But the president has appealed to ASU to call off the strike. There have been negotiations facilitated by the Chief of Staff, Professor Gambari. But let's see what happens. I mean, this is very important. This has to be addressed because it could also become a major concern build up to the election. The next is, of course, the petroleum sector. As we read earlier in the news, the issues raised by the Independent Petroleum Market Association of Nigeria over a 500 billion bridging fund that are being owed by the federal government, they've said that it could lead to a protracted petroleum motor spirit supply crisis, PMS, that could lead to long fuel queues if you've already seen in the Federal Capital Territory and some parts of the country. That is not what anyone would like to happen in this period. And we hope again that that is addressed by the relevant authorities as we receive responses from the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation and other regulators. And then this big question again comes in. And, as Nigeria approaches the 30th anniversary of the June 12 elections that was annulled in 1993, that's in 2023, it's going to be 30 years. Now the talk has come again of an interim national government. Don't forget, in 1993, we had an interim national government headed by the late Chief Ernest Shonekan. The Afenifere group and the well-respected Nigerian lawyer, Mr. Fe Babalola, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, amongst the protagonists for this, saying that the whole country needs a reset, and the interim national government and the inspiration of this administration would help to chart a new pathway for Nigeria, especially in the area of constitutional reforms. Is that something we want to consider? We've endured over 5 dispensations since 1999 of the Fourth Republic. That again is a major talking point build up to the elections. Those are the talking points. Now let's look at our major focus, our discussion, 2023 elections, the business and economic implications. Yes, in every activity, there must be gainers, there must be opportunities, and that's what we're here for. We look at the economic angle, business angle of every activity. And so let's single out all those major businesses and activities and sectors that will be keying into this period, very busy period. First will be the branding and marketing companies. Yes, you see all those logos, the creatives, the graphics, the face caps, t-shirts, souvenirs and jingles of various aspirants already build up to the primaries and eventually the elections. The branding and marketing companies will be very busy, giving out the creativity to the whole scene, and of course, various aspirants and eventual candidates will be busy engaging them to make sure that they look good during this period. The second is the media. Of course, the media will be covering it from the television to the radio to online newspapers and various features. You see candidates, aspirants featuring, you see various adverts, interviews, and various other campaigns. So it's going to be a busy period for the media. Yes, that's what we do during the election period. We cover, and bring to you all the things you need to know. And then, of course, the next is the public relations companies. This has to do with public relations and reputation management. Think about it. Very remarkable aspirants or candidates. How were they shaped? This is the role that the PR companies play. So there's big business for them too this period as the election builds up. And of course, next is the event planners. All the rallies you see, the town hall meetings, the campaigns, and of course, convention meetings to select key candidates. The event planners are there to help set it. And so various event planners would be smiling to the bank this period because huge opportunities are there for them in this period. The next is the security services. Now we have security guards companies, security agencies, they'll be heavily engaged this period because it is a very important time, particularly with the whole issues around insecurity. So yes, political parties will be engaging the service of security guards companies to ensure that everything is smooth. Transportation will also be a very big segment that will be busy this period, particularly for those that will be traveling by road, interstate transporters. And of course, within the cities, Uber services, Taxify services, and various other services will be heavily engaged to ensure that logistics is properly managed. So logistics, transportation will be heavy in terms of this period, heavily engaged, and that's an interesting business and economic implication. Also, hospitality. Already, there are feelers that in Abuja, prior to the presidential primaries of major political parties, they're already raising their rates or giving heads up of how their rates will be. So various hotels and guest houses are preparing, and it's going to be a busy period for them, booking for various delegates that will be there. And so it's going to be a very engaging period for the hospitality industry throughout the primaries. And of course, as we build up to the elections, it will be an industry that will be really experiencing some level of boom and activity. Now for caterers and food vendors, the big ones, the ones that are well known, they will be very busy this period, supplying food to delegates, party members, campaign officials, various rallies. Food vendors also will have a very busy period. And of course, like we earlier stated, the aviation sector, the airlines and private jet owners, as you can see, various aspirants have been flying across the country to pitch their agenda to woo delegates. They've been flying. And so this is a very good opportunity. The sector will be enjoying activities this period. And of course, the entertainment industry is not left out because celebrities will be making special features. You see some of the celebrities singing, performing at various campaigns and events. Some of them will make endorsements. So it's also going to be a very big period for them. So watch out for those celebrities that will be featuring for various aspirants and candidates. And for professional services companies, it's about strategy. It's about advisory. It's about vetting manifestos, telling the aspirants or the candidates eventually that this will work and this will not work. So it's going to be a very engaging period for them. And for those aspirants who have the money to engage professional services companies. Then for publishing and printing houses, yes, campaign materials, voting materials, various things that will be used this period. It's very important. They will be really engaged to publish and print out for various aspirants this period. And of course, the fashion and textile. I mean, polos, face caps, handkerchiefs, various things that have to do with fashion. It will be a busy period for them too. And you have to make phone calls, yes. Send text messages, and of course, solve to your phones. So the telco industry will also be a very busy one. So watching the activities this period. In all, these are majorly part of those businesses and sectors that will be heavily engaged this period. So who says that election periods do not also create business opportunities? They do. And those are the ones we've captured and highlighted. You may have more even and bring up them while you look at this analysis. Now, here is the byline. We are facing an unprecedented period in history in terms of adverse socioeconomic conditions. From high inflation, high unemployment rates, soaring poverty rates, and a significant slide in our currency value, which has eroded the purchasing power of citizens. This is why the Nigerian Labour Congress and various trade unions are pushing for better welfare. So Nigerians are really under pressure. It's an instructive path and advice to every Nigerian that as you get your PVC, permanent voters card, you make the right choice for every candidate you're going to vote for, from House of Assembly to the National Assembly, Senate and House of Reps, to the governor and then president, because we can't go through this whole phase again. It's very instructive. It's a trying time. And to the political class, we can't continue like this anymore. You have to bring your plans and aspirations to the reality of what's affecting Nigerians. Yes, no more business as usual. Let's talk about ideology. This is one of the major challenges in Nigeria. How many parties are structured around ideology? Do they even believe in ideology? Now, there's a man, Mr. Tedopi aside, a well-respected businessman in Nigeria who hails from the historic town of Opobo in Rivers State. He catches our attention because from building one of the biggest banking groups in the country, he leads a strategic philanthropic organization and has made his mark. But what has caught our attention here is, as a leader of thought in Nigeria, he has pitched his tent with a political party. And he says this party fits into his ideology and worldview. Now, this party is the Social Democratic Party. It's not one of the two leading parties in the country. It used to be in the 1990s, but not now. Now, with his clout and influence, the opposite side is showing what business leaders, the elites and elder statesmen should do. Align with ideologies. That's food for thought. It's time to align with ideologies. Stand up for what you believe. Let's see more ideological conversations build up to these elections. Let's see what parties stand for and what the voters or the citizens stand to gain if a party emerges. That is very, very important this period. And that will be all for this edition of the Economy and Politics show. If you have suggestions, comments, and questions on the topic we discussed today, please send them to otobasido@abasekong@proshare.co. Also, you can subscribe to our website, www.proshare.co, giving you very lovely and latest economic stories, political and market stories and articles that will enrich you. You can also follow our social media platforms displayed on the screen. Don't forget that this is a political season and you have to make the right choice. Go get your permanent voters card and be part of the people that will shape our country and make it better. Until we come your way again, thank you for watching and have a nice day.